Have you ever wondered what the craziest things that home inspectors find are? We're also talking about millennials moving to the Northeast and how much you would need to make a month for minimum wage to cover just the minimum of rent in New Hampshire. All that on Cut to the Chase. Welcome to Cut to the Chase with Jen and Dan. My name is Dan Ferullo, my lovely co-host Jennifer Freed. Good afternoon. How are you today?
Excellent. How's it going, Dan?
Excellent. So thank you so much for tuning in. This is episode 20 today.
Woohoo! 2-0.
Wow. It feels like does feel like we've been doing this for a while, and it's still fun. I love sitting here every week and kind of learning about some new stuff going on, and just talking about the news and
Well, it gives us an outlet for a lot of the reading that we do.
It does.
And something to chat with it.
Yeah, and it keeps us up on the market too and what's going on. So
love it.
Let's jump right in. All right, so home inspections are one of the most divisive parts of a real estate transaction, and home inspectors themselves see a lot of crazy stuff. So this article was a Realtor.com article, which talks about some of the strange but true tales from the trenches, as reported by some of these home inspectors. So Jen, what is some of the craziest stuff they find?
So top of their list, they find all kinds of animal things. Dead ones in attics and crawl spaces. Sometimes they find live ones. Occasionally in the winter they'll find frozen ones. They've even found a dead fish on a roof. Not sure if a bird dropped it there or something weird happened, but on their short list, animals.
That's so interesting. Well, we certainly see quite a few animals in New England too, so it's probably New England home inspectors see a lot of those as well. So puzzling decisions. So one of the craziest things one of these gentlemen has seen, a boat trailer was used as a foundation for a house. So he was in the crawl space and saw a tire half embedded in concrete, and he stared at it for a little while and eventually was like, oh, the whole house is built on a trailer. That's pretty interesting. Half finished projects like a deck being held up by a single wobbly post. I know my favorite home inspector, Dickie Garnett, would absolutely not like that.
No way, that'd be a really fun conversation. So next on their list, plumbing problems of all kinds, and it's the do-it-yourself fixes. So they discover that folks try to fix leaks with whatever they have on hand. So lots of duct tape, and that doesn't actually fix the leaky pipes or shower wall
duct tape
tires.
doesn't fix pipes?
Does not fix leaky pipes. Home inspector's not a big fan. They've seen vice grips, radiator hoses, anything to keep water from coming out where it shouldn't. Same thing, they've seen some really scary do-it-yourself wiring type stuff.
Yeah, that stuff is very scary.
And even things like people stringing Christmas lights over their pool. Super dangerous. You could electrocute your whole pool. So that is absolutely terrifying to a home inspector.
Yeah. But wouldn't it be cool to have lights over your pool?
I am certain that there is a way to illuminate your pool festively in a way that if something happens, they're not going to drop into the pool. Yeah, probably around, not over.
Yeah.
But electrical and plumbing, especially the do-it-yourself, scares them tremendously.
Some ridiculous...
Say it 10 times fast.
Ridiculous roofs that the inspectors have seen.
In a row.
One homeowner strategically placed a basketball net with the glass backboard leaning against the roof, which apparently would turn it into an ideal magnifying glass fire starter. So I guess they were trying to fry some ants on their roof, maybe?
Oh my
gosh. Turbine vents in older homes that have lost their covers, or covered with strange things like an upside down Halloween candy bucket. People just, it's crazy some of the things that people do to, as what do they call it, like MacGyver fixes.
Yeah, exactly. Issues with windows, especially wooden windows. spray foam in the rotten wood with a little paint action, that kind of stuff. Doing your best to kind of fix it up, but it still is a nightmare for these home inspectors to go through these windows that are absolutely a disaster.
Yeah, well, and home inspections, like I said, are one of the most divisive areas of the real estate transaction. And if a deal is going to break, a lot of times that's where it's going to happen. And keeping your home properly maintained can really help to alleviate some of these issues that may come up as you're going through the inspection. Sometimes people feel as if they want to save some money by doing things themselves, but then again, sometimes they don't know what they're doing and they do it unsafely. So it's a really tough call, especially where if you are capable of doing something but it's not up to this inspector's standards. That can be a tough thing too. So I guess when in doubt, call a professional.
Yeah, they end the article by saying that on this particular inspector's team, they've got 20 inspectors. And between all 20, every day, someone decides they're not going to buy a house based on what's found at the home inspection.
Mm-hmm.
So while you're living in your house, just keep in mind, at some point in time, you're going to sell your house, and someone's going to go through and just have to say, do all the parts of the house work the way they're supposed to?
Mm.
And in general, if the answer is no to something, that's going to be a problem.
Yep.
And that's just how it is.
Yep.
You heard the sad news here, folks.
All right, cool. So, next article, medium.com article. I've never heard of this website, but
Medium is pretty cool. All kinds of writers and article journalists can actually share articles they've posted for other publications on Medium.
Oh,
You can
okay.
also self-publish on Medium.
Oh, okay.
I just got turned on to it very recently, so
Cool.
check it out for whatever interests you're
Sure,
into.
awesome. So in the Northeast, millennials are choosing New Hampshire. So apparently, New Hampshire is one of the most popular states for the millennial generation to be moving to, if they are moving into the Northeast. And that is thanks to some of the great towns that we have here: Portsmouth, Manchester. I think they talk a little bit about Nashua and Hanover too, which I never think about because it's so far north, and my cousin lives there, and it's close to there, and it's like a 2-hour ride away from us. But there's Dartmouth up there, and Dartmouth College, and Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center, so lots of great stuff up there too. For us, it seems like Portsmouth is kind of like the center of our area.
Well, it's the center of our universe.
Exactly, but they're
and it looks like it's the center of HubSpot's universe too. They cite that company and their growth here as a great work opportunity, and one of the key companies bringing millennials to Portsmouth specifically.
Yeah, and it's great for economic growth here in New Hampshire. They mentioned in the article, by the end of 2019, millennials will become the largest living adult generation, and that we will be representing over $1.4 trillion annually in spending power. So that's a lot of money and obviously not all of them live in New Hampshire, or all of us live here in New Hampshire, but certainly is a great thing for economic growth here because of new companies coming in. Portsmouth is ranked number 1 among the best places for young professionals here in New Hampshire. So there's lots and lots of great stuff to find if you're moving here to the area.
Yeah, absolutely. They actually even cite it for livability and even cost of living, which I know is a hot debate around here. We're going to hit that when we talk about rents in our next topic. But Niche, which is an online resource that helps people identify communities or neighborhoods, if you're looking to advance your career or for relocation, they gave Portsmouth an overall grade of A. They got A for schools and an A+ for being good for young professionals. So They also compile reviews from people about what life in Portsmouth is like, and they are really strong. So, livability.com said in 2017, so a little bit old, one of the top 100 best places to live and best cities for entrepreneurs. So, lots of thumbs ups for Portsmouth and options in New Hampshire for millennials.
Great.
All right, other side of the coin with article number 3. This one is, I believe it's a CBS News, and they were talking about the minimum wage in the United States and what it would buy you in the way of housing. So you'd have to make $17.90 an hour, basically to meet a one-bedroom apartment, basically for the national average, or $22.10 an hour for a two-bedroom for the national average for rents. And that's nowhere near what minimum wage is, so that's kind of the point of the article. But one of the things that I gravitated towards was what our pricing is here, because we're typically above the national average. So for a two-bedroom, right, they said $22.10. So for New Hampshire, we're $22.32, so not too much higher than the national average for a two-bedroom apartment in New Hampshire. Maine, though, if you're looking around here for a housing discount, it looks like it is $18.72 for you'd need $18.72 for an hourly wage to get yourself into a two-bedroom apartment. So if you're in the market for rentals, kind of keep that in mind. You might find a little bit more of a discount in Maine, in the Seacoast area. Doesn't place us at the most expensive rents in the country, but you're not going to get the biggest deal here.
No, certainly not.
Yeah, what do you think, Dan?
I think that the cost of housing is pretty astronomical around here in general. And I think that it's interesting that people who are making minimum wage can't even afford to, wouldn't even be able to afford rent, which is just absolutely crazy. So I don't really know. I don't really have too much, because it is a political issue that not that affordable housing should be politicized. Yeah,
it's a human issue.
Yeah, it is, and there should certainly be more affordable housing. I think we've talked about this before, that the housing that they're putting in around here, like they're putting in lots of housing in Portsmouth, but the rents are going to be
it's not the rents that you can get. The rents are going to be like
$2,500 to $3,000 a month for a micro apartment, and that's really tough for most people.
When they are figuring numbers in these kinds of articles, they are figuring of what you can bring in a year at your wage, about 30% of that for housing.
$22.32 at 40 hours is $892.80 minus taxes, whatever that is for. Per month. So that's, you're making $3,500 a month. And that's almost not even enough for you to be able to afford to. How much do they say you should be using of your monthly income?
They like 30%.
Is that 30%
for housing?
For housing.
And they're not meaning just the rent payment. They're also your utilities would
and
be
stuff like that,
figured in that. Towards the end of the article, they reference the number of times we've heard that the housing crash that happened. 07, 08 has recovered. And so it was like, great, housing has recovered, but only a portion of housing has recovered. What hasn't recovered is the affordable housing for everyone that needs affordable housing. So in the United States, 11 million families are still paying more than half, so way more than 30%, so over 50% of their income to get into a place to live. So that's how rents
savings, no way to do anything else.
So that's how rents in New Hampshire and Maine stack up. We know inventory wise as realtors that of the choices of what you can get into, let's say if you're making $22 an hour, there's only a very limited supply of apartments at that price point available right in the Seacoast area.
Right.
So, it can be really hard to find those.
Mm-hmm.
There are many more in, if you go up in price, even just, $150 to $300 a month, but when you're making $22 an hour, that's a huge jump in price. That's like doesn't work for a lot of people.
Right.
So it's a really big challenge and something I want us to keep thinking about. But on a lot of the message boards around here, rent and housing prices are a big topic. So I think it's important on this podcast and this video series to chat about like how expensive are we really? We know we're not Manhattan expensive, but we're modestly expensive in terms of the country for rent. That's just the way it is. But in terms of minimum wage, it's abysmal. We can do better. I say it. We can do better.
I agree.
All right, there you have it, guys. A thoughtful episode for today.
Yes, thank you so much for tuning in. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I especially would love to hear what you have found at your home inspections, or what crazy things that your inspector uncovered for you that you weren't expecting. That'd be an interesting comment to receive. But yeah, we'd love to hear what you have to say about any of these articles.
Yeah.
Please leave us a review on iTunes or subscribe and like this on Facebook. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Have a really great
cut
week.
to the chase.